everyone, I'm Sarah Sach, and welcome to Coffee and Crochet Podcast with Sarah. Well, I have to tell you, it has been one crazy busy week for us. Over the weekend, we went to Oklahoma to look at some houses. We didn't find anything while we were there, but we did find something after we got back. And we have an amazing realtor down there. I love her to death. Super duper sweet lady and worked really hard. And we found a house. We put an offer on it on Sunday, I think, or Saturday morning. We put an offer on it, and they accepted our offer yesterday. So we are buying a house in Tuttle, Oklahoma, which is super close to my grandkids and my daughter and son-in-law who live in Mustang, Oklahoma. And one of the super cool things about this house is it has a nice big office with beautiful French doors. That's going to be my new yarn studio. I'm so excited. Now we do have to get our house sold. We're having our house on the market on Friday. Open house over the weekend. So I hope we get some offers and we get this place sold. I'm super excited about getting moved and getting back into our normal routine. I did spend 3 whole days cleaning the yarn room, going through yarn, going through items that are already made. And so I thought maybe it might be kind of fun to do a quick little funny video showing you this yarn room. And then when we get there and get all set up, we can compare. I'm excited about the French doors because it's going to let in some nice light too, I think. And it's got a nice big window. I did a virtual walkthrough of the house. My husband's going on Monday to go sign the papers and everything. And so he's going to take me some pictures and everything. But I'm super excited. It's a great area. And I think it said it was on a little over an acre. So, we have 5 acres here. But when we lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we had about an acre. So I'm good with an acre. I just like having a little wiggle room. The only sad thing is it's going to be about 15 minutes to Hobby Lobby and Michael's. I'm pretty spoiled here. I can hop in my car and be at Hobby Lobby in 5 minutes, Michael's also. And so that's going to be a little bit, but it's worth it. Okay, so we're still going to be in limbo a little bit for a while, getting, our house sold, our things moved and all that sort of thing. But I am still going to do my best to get some good, fun, and quality videos out for all of you, okay? Now, I do have something I really, really, really want you to think and pray about for me. Y'all know I have Maximo and Rosie. Maximo's my little white chihuahua with the black dots and the black ears, who is ornerier than ornery. And then we have our sweet little Rosie. They've been doing really good, but Rosie gets emotional when things change. And she throws up, and actually on the way back from Oklahoma last weekend, she threw up a little bit. Well, this morning, we were doing really good. We've been cleaning and getting everything ready for them to take the pictures and do a virtual walkthrough and stuff. But for our house, but this morning, we went out front like we always do. I take them out front to go potty. And Rosie she fell over and she started shaking. And so I went over to get her, and I was not there close enough yet. And she was trying to get to me, but she couldn't get her arms to move. And she sort of drug herself forward or pushed herself forward with her back feet. And so I ran to her and I picked her up and I held her tight, and she was shaking, and I got her past that. And I did give her a calming pill. I have calming pills that I got from the vet that do help her when she gets extremely nervous. She's never done a seizure like that before. So I called my husband, and we're going to have her checked out today and stuff, but we just want to make sure she's okay. I get stressed out, and I think that she feels my stress because she's always done that since she was teeny tiny, and she is 14 years old now, and Maximo is 15. And so she just her nerves get the better of her, and I hope that's just what this is. And she's laying over here asleep now, resting. She's doing fine. She did eat her breakfast, so that's good. Anyway, so keep her in your thoughts and prayers. I'm kind of worried about her. All right, so let's move on to a better note. As y'all know, my son, my daughter-in-law, and their daughter Zoe is also moving to Oklahoma because he's moving his business. His name of his business is Carbon Shocks. That's just the name of it. He makes American-made shocks for cars and things. Anyway, she was over at the house. We've been trying to snatch moments together because usually we spend a whole day together on Thursdays, but with them working really hard and us working really hard, it's really kind of hard to do that. And plus, he's moving his shop as well with all those big machines. And so anyway, Zoe was over and we were playing some games. We like to play Uno, and we have this game we play. It's called Doggy Daycare, where we get our stuffed animals and pretend like they're at doggy daycare and they dance and stuff. Anywho, we were sitting there talking, having a snack, and she said, Oma, because she calls me Oma, because I'm her Oma, her grandma. Oma is German for grandma. And she says, Oma, you need to get a really big elephant. And she's 9. Okay. And I'm like, okay, what do I need a really big elephant for? And she said, because you need a really big trunk to pack all your yarn. I thought that was hilarious. Talk about ingenious. I thought that was the best. And we laughed so hard, and she's like, JK, joke, JK. Just joking. I thought that was the best thing ever. So anywho, she loves telling jokes, and I guess she came up with that one. It was so funny. We forgot to clink in. Alrighty, I'm drinking caramel coffee again because I am so excited about finding that caramel. I buy sometimes I buy the liquid, sometimes I buy the powder. And when the liquid is on sale, I'll buy several and stick them in the freezer. Well, we're trying to get everything out of the freezer, right? So I'm drinking up my caramel creamer in my coffee, and it is super good. So everybody, clinkety, clink, clink, clink. Sorry, I forgot that. My brain is like spinning in a circle. There's just so much going on. All right, so let's get to our topic of conversation, which is granny squares. I did the granny square double pot holder and hot pad for our scrap happy crochet along last Monday. And I got this email and it said, that is not a granny square. Granny squares are not made like that. That's an Afghan square. And that's true. It really is true. Granny square is kind of like a term that we call that covers everything. And so let's talk a little bit about, first of all, why are they called granny squares? Well, that's because grannies like to make them, right? But just keep this in mind. Granny squares are not just for grannies. I mean, I am a grandma, but I've been making granny squares since I was 13 years old. I had a friend, I think her name was Nancy, and her mom crocheted, and I went over to her house one time to spend the night because kids, we spend the night at each other's house all the time. It was her and another girl, I think her name was Denisa, and we were all there, and her mom was crocheting, and I said, can you teach me to do a granny square? Because actually I said, what are you making? She said, granny squares. I said, can you teach me? Because I wanted to learn crochet. And so she showed me how to do it. My other 2 friends were bored with it, and I'm sitting there with her mom learning crochet. So you can be any age and love granny squares. And granny squares are making a great comeback, okay? So don't think you have to be a granny to do granny squares, okay? But it's okay for grannies too. So I looked up what is the history of the granny squares. I've got some notes here. My notes say this, and this is from a video I did probably 4 years ago. Can't remember, but it's the same information. The granny square made its first debut in 1891 in the Art of Crocheting as an engraving. And what that means is it was in a book that was just an engraving of what it looked like. That doesn't mean that granny squares weren't made before that. This is the first time they were actually made known. Okay, it wasn't until 1897 that a written crochet pattern was published. And it was published in a book called The Weldon's Practical Needlework, and this was published in London. I really would love to get a hold of that book. I think that would be amazing if we could figure out where we could get a hold of that book. The Weldon's Practical Needlework. Now, on the blog that I always do that goes along, that's the blog I call the newsletter blog, that goes along with this video, I have the links to both of these. So you can click on that link underneath the video and then click on the link on the blog and it'll take you to both of these things, okay? I have those highlighted. Okay, the crochet pattern was similar to the pattern we use today. The only difference is the clusters they use were only 2 double crochets and the traditional granny we use today is 3. Okay, so let me poke. Let me move over to this picture. And so I've got some granny squares here. The pink one and the green one are just your traditional granny squares. And we use, and when I say 3 double crochet clusters, these are what these are. And we use 3 double crochet clusters. But you can use 2, you can use 1, you can use 5. This is just the traditional. This one I wanted to show you just because I started the center different. It's still a granny square, but it's not the traditional. And one of the things this person sent me was talking about is Afghan squares. Okay, and so an Afghan square is any kind of a crochet square that, and it can be a traditional or any kind of a square that we make that's crochet that's stitched in an Afghan. And so if you think about it, a granny square is a traditional square. An Afghan square is any crochet square that can be stitched into an Afghan. So all granny squares are Afghan squares, but not all Afghan squares are granny squares. And so the thing of it is, the truth is it doesn't really even matter. You can make any crochet square you want and call it a granny square if you want to. And you can make any Afghan square you want or any granny square you want and call it an Afghan square if you want to. The whole thing is, if you look online, granny squares and Afghan squares are showing up everywhere. I was watching the Spring Baking Championship and the host, she was wearing a beautiful, I don't know if it was a dress or a blouse, I can't remember now, that had, it was a print that looked like granny squares. It was beautiful. And we're seeing actors, actresses, models, people online wearing things that are crochet and have Afghan or crochet squares that these things are made out of. If you go into the stores now, I was in Kohl's looking for an Easter dress, which I found a beautiful yellow one, which I love. But they have sweaters and shawls and vests at Kohl's, Target, Walmart, JCPenney's that are crochet. And a lot of them are squares. And I absolutely love that the granny square is making this tremendous comeback. And the thing is, and a lot of them are using traditional colors from when they first came out, say back in the 60s and 70s and early 80s. But a lot of them are using bright and different colors. And so, I'm sorry, I got sidetracked by a question. But anyway, I love that the granny square is coming back because that means crochet is still alive and well. Crochet is such a fun art to be a part of. And a lot of times there's things, not to belittle like cross stitch or embroidery. And those things are wonderful arts. I've done all of them. As a matter of fact, I used to love to cross stitch. And I have cross stitch things that my mother-in-law made for when my kids were born. I love them. But cross stitch is just stitching in X's. When you're crocheting, you're constantly learning new stitches, new techniques, new kinds of yarns, new colors, new ways of putting them together. It's just an ever-growing and ever-changing art, and I love that. And it's like there's absolutely nothing you can't crochet today. You can crochet earrings and hats. You can crochet headbands, sweaters, scarves, shirts, shoes. I mean, tons of things. And I love that it is showing up everywhere. All right. So I'm going to see my notes real quick, see if I missed anything on this. Okay, so The bottom line is why they called it a granny square is because grannies would take their leftover bits and pieces of yarns, and they would put them into squares, and then they would make blankets. And it's a useful way to make a blanket. It's just like leftover fabric made into quilts. I had one when my daughter Elizabeth was little, that my mother-in-law, I think it was my mother-in-law's mother, so it would have been my granddaughter's great-grandmother, made a crazy quilt, and it was like pink and blue and yellow, just different pieces just all sewn together. And I loved that quilt. We used that forever until it just fell apart. I probably should have put it in a bag and preserved it. And on another note, I have a quilt that I started when my son was a baby, and he's 35. So I found it when I was cleaning out the craft closet. It was in a plastic bag. It's the top's all done. I just have to put it together, put the bottom on it. So, you know, it's the same sort of thing as what I'm saying with the quilts, because I love quilts. But you can do that with granny squares. And I love making just a bunch of different colors, putting a bunch of squares together, and even different sizes, you know, and different shapes. You can make rectangle granny squares, so they're granny rectangles. And you can make triangles and fit them together and make all kinds of fun things with them. But it began as grannies or grandmothers. My mom, we all called her Granny when the greats came, the great grandkids. But putting those together, using them for something useful. And so that's why I really, really love our crochet along this year, because we're doing a scrap happy crochet along, using up our yarn scraps, making useful and fun things. All right, so that is the discussion on granny squares. Make them, use them, and have fun with them. Because I'm going to. I am. All right, so let's talk about what happened this week. Last Wednesday, I can't remember what day of the week it is, we did this scarf that's behind me. I'm going to put it on over my roaming camera here and see if you can see that. Okay, so that is the scarf that we made. I meant to bring that in closer. I didn't. But anyway, that is the scarf that we made. That is our butterfly, cotton butterfly scarf that goes with the healing butterfly beanie. And it's a really super repeat. You can make it shorter to make it into a cowl. You can make it longer. You can put the ends together. You can twist it, which I did. I twisted it so it's an infinity scarf. Or you can leave it just long, and it makes a nice addition to any outfit. And although I made it in cotton, you can do this pattern in acrylic as well. Any medium weight, number 4. I think it would be beautiful in those ombres or striping yarns. Any of your cake yarns that are striping that are medium 4, perfect. Okay, the other thing we did was yesterday we did a super simple scrubby pattern, and I love this pattern. We made it with the Bernat Scrubby Scrub Off yarn. This is the one that I used. This is the label so you can see what it's called. Bernat Handicrafter Scrub Off. And it has pieces of the Scrubby hook. I'm not going to unroll that, but it's hooked into with some cotton as well. And I love this. I think there is several others that make this also, but these are huge. And I love that they're huge. Like I make bunches of them. And so what we did, I call it the flower double-sided scrubby, because one side I started with the cotton in the middle, and then there's the scrubby, and then cotton, then scrubby again. But on the back side, I started with the scrubby in the middle, and then went to cotton. And so if I just want to wash the dishes, I can wash the dishes and scrub them off real clean and not mess up my fingernails. But if I want to scrub really hard, so I've got some dried on cheese or oil or something, I've got that scrubby in the middle and I can really scrub on it. All right, this is the other one. And the scrubby's in white, which is hard to see with this camera for some reason. Oh well. So anyway, I called it the double-sided flower double-sided scrubby. And so you make 2 circles and it's got the bumps on there. You know what? Let's put this over to this other camera so you can see it better. Okay, so it's got the bumps because we alternate singles and triples here, and then we do a single row, then another row of bumps, and that helps with the cleaning as well. And then the center is the scrubby and the bumps, and you stitch them exactly the same. You stitch two circles, and then the petals are formed by shell stitches around the outside edge. And if you don't want to double them up, you don't have to. You can make them just one, and do the flower edge, or do two together and do that way. So it's a really neat scrubby pattern. I love the one with the strap. I use mine like that all the time. But these are really cool. And of course you can throw these right in the washer and dryer when you're washing your dish towels. And I'm one of these people. I make a bunch because I wash my scrubbers and my washcloths that I clean things with every day. I don't wash them every day. I change them out every day. Because when I was going through my treatments for my thyroid cancer, I was super diligent about germs. Because when you're taking chemo and stuff, I did the chemo pill actually. When you're doing that, your immune system's down. And when you also have thyroid issues, your immune system is down as well. And so I was super diligent about the antibacterial stuff and clean. And so I would change out my scrubbies every day and do a load once a week. And I've just kept doing that anyway with COVID and everything. I just kept right on doing it, and I still do it. You know, I just cannot stand the smell of a nasty wet washcloth or a nasty wet scrubby, you know. And they probably are nothing wrong with them. I just can't stand it. And so I change them out every day. So I make a bunch of those. Bottom line, I make a bunch. I used to have a friend when I was in high school. He'd look at me and he'd go, "Bottom line it, Sarah," because I'd be like rattling off. Okay, now, last week we did not have a Friday Fun video because we were traveling. And so I did a video on Saturday after we actually got back about 10:30 Friday night because we went Thursday and Friday. And so I put together just a little video. I took some video while we were traveling just to kind of, tell you about what we're doing. And so if you want to know about our Oklahoma trip, it's there. You can watch it. It's just kind of silly and everything. And we took the dogs and we really had a nice time. We stopped in. We were able to see our daughter, but I didn't get to see my grandkids because they were in school and we had to get back because we just had so much to get done to get this house ready to go. Okay? All right, now I do intend on doing that video just to give you a look about what my yarn room looks like now, because I would not do that before because I had just piles of things and I did a lot of giving away. And we also did a lot of trash bags. We got a big dumpster and we cleaned closets. You hang on to things, you accumulate, and you're like, why? I mean, I had size 5 and 6 jeans in there. That's never going to happen again. Okay, so those all went to Goodwill, It's amazing what you accumulate, what you hang on to. So, anyway, I'm hoping to do that, have that for you tomorrow. And then on Friday, I already have a video ready of a pattern for Friday. And then we'll just see how it goes for next week because we have to be away from the house Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And so it shouldn't be a problem to do, because I've got some things prepared for Monday and next week. So anyway, thank you for coming along with me. I know it's chaotic right now. Things are not normal, and I'm the kind of person, I really love organization and I really love for things to be normal. I don't know about normal. My husband always says normal is just a setting on your dryer. There is no normal. And that's the truth right now, especially. But anyway, back into a routine. I am a person who loves a routine. I just really, really do. And when I'm out of that routine, I get confused. Like I said, I told my husband, I said, would you please make sure I'm up at 6 o'clock this morning because I want to be ready and get things done for my live video. And usually I don't have to tell him that. I know the day of the week, but I made sure yesterday that I knew what today was because the days have just been running into each other. So anyway, how do you stop granny squares from coming apart? I've never really had a problem with mine coming apart. Are you talking about the center? Because I really prefer to do the chain 5 and join for things that are a circle. I haven't had good luck with my magic circles staying tightly because you still end up having to tie it and everything. So yes, befuddled. That is the exact term, Kim. That is the exact term I am right now. Befuddled. I love that word. One thing that's making this a lot easier is we have a fantastic realtor here. She is amazing and thorough, and just, she was so kind when she walked into my yarn room and saw the, it wasn't a mess. It was an organized mess. I knew where everything was, you know, but I had like piles for donation and piles for trash and yarn to give away, and you know, and the more I cleaned, the more mess I made. And she was so kind about it when she came in to do the initial walkthrough. So, and then we have a fantastic realtor in Oklahoma who's working hard for us there. So, we're going to do everything we can. Okay, she says, yes, the center. Okay, I have a video on how to do a basic granny square on YouTube. And I think it's traditional granny square. But I'm going to tell you, when it comes to a granny square, I always do the chain 5 method and do that stay knot, and then stitch the first row over the tail of yarn, and then weave that in good, because you need to make sure it's weaved in tight. There's nothing more frustrating than to make a beautiful blanket and see your circles come undone. Okay? Are you moving? Yes, we are moving back to Oklahoma. If you want to see the video, there's a video about it on YouTube as well. We talked about it last week as well. I'm originally from Tulsa, and so my husband and I, my son and his wife and their daughter, are all moving back to Oklahoma City area where our other daughter and her husband and grandkids are. And so we'll all be in a centralized area to be able to spend time. And you might even see them pop in on my YouTubes from time to time. My daughter used to, so anyway, I do, back to the granny square thing, I do have on my YouTube channel, in the Crochet Techniques playlist, a traditional granny square of how I like to do it. Now, one thing you have to remember is I am old school. I don't use a lot of the new techniques that they've come up with lately, you know, in the last few years. I like to do everything old school because it worked great. But that doesn't mean I don't learn new techniques and learn new you know, patterns and things like that. I do, because I love learning. That's one thing I do really, really love, is learning. Okay. Now, my husband's from Alaska. He was born in Anchorage, Alaska, and then he grew up in North Hollywood. So we met when he came down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. He went to Spartan School of Aeronautics, and then we met there, and then he went into the Air Force, and we got married, and you know, 100 years later, here we are. We just celebrated our 40th wedding anniversary. So anyway, I am going to let you all go. Feel free to ask more questions, and I will try my best to answer them. One thing I do ask of you is, because we are not doing as many videos and having as much contact, please go to my YouTube channel. Look through the playlist. I have thousands of patterns in there. There are tons and tons of patterns, all different categories. Go in there, look around, and watch them. Okay? And that will help me continue to get feedback and stuff. Okay? So thank you. Thank you for listening to me chatter today and my silly laughter. Someone told me the other day I sound like Roseanne Barr again. So I hope you all have a fantastic week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.